on, black man, move on. You gotta move on, black man, move on. Don't get round in the sunshine. Everybody loves the sunshine. My life, my life, my life, my life. Move on, black man, move on. You gotta move on, black man, move on. All right. Started our morning with Sunshine by Jungle Brothers. Nighttime fades away. On to the next day. The weatherman predicts a clear sunny Saturday. Gather my leaves and all my vegetables. Anyway, Jungle Brothers, from their classic album, If You Ain't Got It, Go Get It, done by the forces of nature. And then we came with another classic, reprised in the Sunshine by Brand Nubian. Oh gosh, I guess they don't make it like that no more. White man was like, I gotta fix this. I can't have this kind of uplifting, conscious, revolutionary, pro-social, pro-life, pro-black music. I got to get you some skirt, skirt. I got to bring you the minstrel music. So, we're plagued by the minstrel, modern day minstrel show. I can't believe, I believe, let me not lie on myself. I absolutely believe that black people, we got a whole outrage about blackface and we don't have any issues with minstrel. Remember, the minstrel show had two elements. It had white performers in blackface. That was one element of the minstrel show. And I think we're pretty good on that. We denounced that. We will not have it all. So y'all going up in all these performers, even some performers y'all like, even some positive, performers, some allied white performers. Y'all not having it. And y'all getting at them. No blackface. We will not have it. Y'all don't want to repeat that history. And I respect that. I support that. And yeah, well, whoever we boycotting, whoever we canceling, whoever we hashtagging, I support it. There's another side to the minstrel show that y'all not paying attention to. There was two parts to the minstrel show. You had the white actors donning blackface, but also on the minstrel show, you had black performers behaving in the most debased, carnal, stereotypical manner for the entertainment of white people. That was also part of the minstrel show. So you had blackface and you had black minstrelsy, you have black debasement. Because the white boy could put on the blackface and go, Mammy, I walk 1,000,000 miles for one of your smiles, oh Mammy. They do that. But they couldn't do the intricate steps. They couldn't perform, they couldn't do the movements, they didn't have the rhythm we had. So even though they prefer to have a white man in blackface for time, they had to bring a black man in with his own melaninated features to act. What did the minstrels do? They would behave unintelligent. And many of these guys, you go back and look at interviews of some of the minstrel performers. Step and Fetch It being one of the modern versions, the first black performer, the first black entertainer to ever reach $1 million was Step and Fetch It. And you see him on when he was in the old black and white movies, and he talk like this, and I don't know, boss, sir. I sure enough now, I don't know, sir. And you see him in interviews, he's there in the tie, looking clean and crispy, and he's an articulate black man with a large vocabulary. He was an intelligent black man. But when the cameras got to rolling, he had to go, I don't know, sir. I Step and Fetch It would have been the hottest drill rapper. Skirt, skirt. First I drive my car, sir. Then I got my bitch, sir. So I don't understand if we really are trying to be the dignified people that we are, if we're really trying to reclaim our dignity, if we're really trying to end this legacy of dehumanization of our people, why do we only focus on one aspect of the minstrel show? Maybe because it's outside, it's external. And we're much more comfortable with external accountability than internal accountability. I don't know. So let's just complete the cipher. Let's not just go after the white boys in blackface. Let's go after the black people behaving in debased and dehumanized ways for the entertainment and stimulation of white people. And again, I will tell y'all, it ain't just us. I tell you, any black person, I don't care if there's one of your beloved scholars, 99%, because there are some black scholars like Bobby E. Wright. There are some black entertainers like Bill Cosby or Paul Mooney who would say black folks are the only people. So I'll make an exception. Sometimes you can say black people are the only people. But by and large, when you find somebody that says black folks are the only people, 9 times out of 10, they're saying some self-hate, some self-rejecting, utter nonsense, and they shouldn't be listened to. 9 times out of 10. There are a few minor exceptions, or major exceptions, depending on how you define it. So black people aren't the only people to do this. I will remind you that part of European conquest, white people were not content to come and steal territory. White people were not content to come and rape your resources. White people were not content to come and rape the people and enslave the people. For some reason, everywhere they went, they had a deep-seated desire to see the people they oppress and colonize and enslave debase themselves for their entertainment. So you had Asian people under European colonization had to do the ching chong, yasa, yasa. And you go back and look at Asian people in the media, and they still do it. And they also, white folks did yellowface. White folks did yellowface, and they still do. And then you got some Asian minstrels. Margaret Cho, I mean, when she came out, she used to, when she be doing that, she used to play that up. And we all know about the Native American. White folks used to do red face. White folks do red face. How? Remember? We watch those old Indian shows and it'd be a white man dressed up in Native American traditional garb. You won't know them, come them, to them, all play them. Like what? You have to say what? And when they couldn't do that, they go hire some inebriated Native American to dance for them, to do a fire or a rain dance for them, to set up a sweat lodge. So it ain't just us. I can tell you. And I don't know why we like to think that we have a special place in our oppressor's heart. These behaviors are universal. That's why Dick Gregory told us. We can't ever say they do this to us. They do police brutality against us because we black. They redline us because we black. They deny us resources because they black. They shoot our unarmed children because we black. They enslaved us because we black. That is just untrue. There is no historical, empirical evidence that white people do anything to us because we're black. And that puts the pressure on us. And that's why you got so many black people trying to do blue contacts, blonde hair, and bleach out them skin. Because they believe this stuff happens to us because we're black. We got black eugenicists trying to mix like Stephon Clark, who try to go have children with non-black people to lighten up their bloodline so they think that their descendants won't have to suffer as they do because they do it because we're black. We put the negative on us, as Dick Gregory said. But none of this happens to us because we're black. It happens to us because they are white. That's their dysfunction. That's their mentality. That's their pathology, not privilege, pathology. They do it because they're white. And that's why whenever black people come up and say, look what happened to us, you got a whole bunch of other people in line right behind us. And then you got the American DOS that are like, nope, we get ours, to the denial of other people. Because you can't find a population on this earth. You cannot find a species. You cannot find a species on, forget other people. You can't find a species. They just did a deep sea, deep water archaeology. They went to the base of the oceans, to the deepest trench of the ocean. And they got a sample of species, of living organisms. And they, of course, killed and dissected these organisms and found that they all, not one of them was free of modern day pollutants. They all had toxic artificial chemicals, plastics in their circulatory and digestive system. Nobody's exempt. Did they do that because you're a crustacean? Do they have crustaceanism? Because you're a seafaring mammalism? They want to start now. The gray wolf is just recovering. And the Trump administration wants to take the gray wolf off of the endangered species list for no other reason than they get to go out and thrill kill the wolves. Nobody eats wolf meat. There's no reason to kill wolf meat. Even the wolf killed the farmers. Every time the farmer gets more money than when they get when one of their calves get killed by a wolf than when they sell it. So they get compensation. There's no real practical reason to want to start slaughtering the wolves after they just got off the endangered species list, except they got a thrill kill, a desire to kill. So they want to kill off the wolves again. For what? Murder for fun. Is that wolfism? Speciesism? So I'm not trying to downplay what black folks are going through. I'm trying to explain what we went through. It's not because we're white. I wish we would stop saying that. Now, if you can give me evidence, that something happened to black people because we're black, I'll be up here and say they did it because we're black. I'll be the first one to announce it. I'll change the name of my show to the 'Cause We Black Show. I ain't a handful God. I tell you, I'll change the name. You can tell me something that black people were subjected to that no other people were subjected to. And again, I'm not trying to dilute the problem. I'm not trying to downplay the specific atrocities committed against African people. I'm trying to allow us to explain, because a lot of our people really believe that, and it's not even worse than the blue contacts, the bleaching of the skin, the blonde hair bleaching, the selective breeding that we engaged in, the human eugenics to try to lighten up our skin generation after generation. And if you don't believe me that black people engage in eugenics to whiten, go look at Eartha Kitt. Go look at James Earl Jones and his family. Go look at Grace Jones and her offspring. Go look at a lot of these famous people of note. Even the beloved gangster rapper Scarface. He said in an interview with Ed Lover on the Ed Lover Sirius radio show, he said, I could see after I'm dead and gone, my family's going to end up all white because all of my children are with white people and my children's children are with white people. And he said, there's going to be a picture of me on the wall. And they're going to turn to their parents and say, Daddy, who's that Negro on the wall? And they say, that's your great-great-granddad. And he was like, how would my great-great-granddad? And he thought it was a joke. I thought it was a horrible thing to say. But you go look up Dr. I don't know how many times he said, but look it up. Don't ask me to look it up. Take my word for it. You don't believe me? Holla at Scarface. He's accessible. He said it. I'm sure he won't deny it. He's a gangster. He ain't scared of you. He'll tell you. If you ask him, he'll tell you he said it. So when you tell black folks it happens because we black, there are some black people that will take the route of, the less black we are. And you ain't just got to go through drastic measures. Speaking the Queen's East, articulating properly. Black people think, if they attack us because we black, we could talk in a vernacular. We can talk in such a way that is easy on white folks' ears. So when, at least we look black, but we sound white. And yeah, there is a such thing as talking white. And being articulate is not talking white, because most white people I've had the pleasure of interacting with did not speak standard English. Of course, I was raised in Missouri. The white folks say it's Missouri. Of course, I've been to Ozark Mountain Country, where the real hillbillies are from. I've been to the Ozark. I've been to Branson, Missouri. I've been to Silver Dollar City. So I know white folks don't speak standard English. It ain't talking white, ain't talking proper. Talking white is using the white vernacular. White folks do have their particular culture because we've been isolated from each other. We are not we are not all Americans. All Americans are not created equal. That was a lie that the founding fathers. All men are not created equal, so we're not equal. And we do have our own particular ways about ourselves. So black folks think I'll talk white. Some black folks think I'll dress white. And dress white. Some black folks will put on a wrap themselves in the American flag. Some black folks go even further. Some black people will wrap themselves in the Confederate flag. Some black people will wear Skechers. Now that's somebody that's really committed to racial harmony. You wear Skechers and Crocs. Y'all need to put a monument of all the black people that wear Skechers and Crocs. Need to have a monument right next to Dr. King's monument, because y'all are really committed to racial harmony and unity to be wearing. Ain't no black, but we can't even walk right in that. We can't. But anyway, they dress white. Them all off lopsided slacks like Trump wear on the golf course. We start to raise our children with Western values. We try to say we're patriotic Americans, we're capitalist, we're Lutheran, we're Mormon, we're Jehovah's idiots. I'm sorry, Jehovah's wickedness. I'm sorry, Jehovah's Witnesses. So until we can inform the masses of our people that it's not because you black. And there's no behavior, there's no self-mutilation, there's nothing. There's only one thing you can do to end the aggression and the atrocity. And even some black folks are like, if we got white folks money, and Busta Rhymes did that song, Arab Money. He should have did white folks money. Because that's who the Arabs got. Where did the Arabs get the money from? Getting white folks money. We think if we can get white folks fiat. If we can get white folks fiat. And it'd be just like the wolf. White folks are going to give us our reparations. And it'd be like, oh, Negroes are off the endangered species list. We can hunt them again. Rosewood, woo, yeehaw. Tulsa, Oklahoma, yeehaw. So the only thing we can do is what the Chinese figured out, what the Japanese figured out, is to, I hope y'all didn't hear that, I'm popping my nose. That's so unprofessional. If you heard that, I apologize. The only thing we can do is reduce our vulnerability to Western white aggression. And the only way to reduce our vulnerability is to achieve a state of mutually assured destruction. That means we have to achieve the same material capacity and have the same psychological will to attack and kill them as they have to attack and kill us. When you reach that point, now ironically, you would think once everybody's all, armed, everybody's geared up and juiced up and ready to mass slaughter, you would think that's war. But that's actually, under Western hegemony, that's the formula for peace. That's when they sit across from the negotiation tables and will sign contracts and treaties and honor those contracts and treaties. If you don't believe me, ask the Soviet Union, ask the Chinese Communist, ask the North Korean Communist, ask the Viet Cong, ask even Fidel Castro or the Cuban socialist experiment. The only time they sit across the table in good faith and negotiate peacefully, by their terms, peace, again, we understand under Western hegemony, peace is the time you prepare for war. It's when there is a situation of mutually assured destruction. Look at Libya. Look at the late Muammar Gaddafi. Muammar Gaddafi had weapons of mass destruction. He had biochemical and some medium-range missiles. And his nation was under sanctions. And they said, you give up your missiles, you give up your bio and your chemical weapons. If you give up your capacity for mutually assured destruction with NATO and the West, then we will end our sanctions, we will end our blockade, and you can become one of the nations. You can come to the UN and send your ambassadors. You can open up embassies across the world, and we will take you off the state sponsor of terrorism list. It'll be all gravy, baby. And I don't know if it was old age or senility, or he was just exhausted. I don't know what the hell his malfunction is, because he saw what happened after, he saw what happened after Saddam Hussein. And remember George Bush, the senior, the first George Bush, the dead George Bush. Used to call him Saddam, because that was the Arabic name for boy, I believe, and used to purposely mispronounce his name to shoot shade at him. And he did it. And you see the outcome when you give up your position of mutually assured destruction. And real talk, Hugo Chavez, Maduro, the Chavista, the Bolivarian Revolution, the first thing they should have done is like, let's get a nuke. Let's get 2-3 nukes. Let's have ourselves a missile crisis. And I know this is madness, and it is absolutely madness. I don't want to have to live that way. I don't want to have to negotiate with any other people based on mutually assured destruction. But you study revolutions, and they tell you the oppressor. If you look at Frantz Fanon, and we ain't even got to go, because some of y'all don't like Frantz Fanon because he wants to cut the throat of colonizers. He believes that no colonizer forfeits their right to live. So let's say Dr. King. There we go. They're more comfortable. Let's quote Dr. King on this issue and get a little away, because I know this topic already is sensitive enough for black folks and white folks. Dr. King said, people who make peaceful reform impossible make violent revolution inevitable. Which is, in other words, say the oppressor sets the standard. The oppressor sets the tone. The oppressor is the one who determines the level of violence and destruction it will take, not the oppressed. The oppressed says one thing: I want freedom, I will have freedom, I will not compromise on my freedom. That's all the oppressed can determine. That's the only conclusion you have. I'm going to be free or a slave. Ain't no such thing as halfway oppressed. Ain't no such thing as halfway crooks. Ain't no such thing as halfway slaves. Ain't no such thing as halfway colonized. You're free or you're a slave. So once the colonized, once the oppressed, once the enslaved say, I will have my liberation, then it's up to the oppressor to determine. Is he going to have to kill me to get this? Is he going to have to negotiate with me to get this? Is he going to have to fight with me? Or can he do it in peaceful means? It's not our fault. They determine how much violence it will take. Because once the oppressed say freedom or death, we've already made. Our choice is simple. Not so much for the oppressed. But generally, they always choose, do you have the capacity and will to kill me as I have the capacity and will to kill you? If that answer is no, they will continue to oppress you. If that answer is yes, they will negotiate peace until they can get superior will and capacity. It's really sick. I know, this is the world we live in. I wish more of us understood this. But moving on. But it's all tied in. It's all united. Mutually assured destruction. That's something we should understand. And believe you me, they love this parade. Don't think. I think a lot of things we mistake as progress, we mistake for resistance. We sit and we think our protest, we think our reforms. We need a revolution. I advocate for a revolution. I know a lot of beautiful and committed people who are not engaged in revolution, and I think it's very unfortunate because I hate to see their time, talent, and resources wasted. I don't like this hamster wheel resistance where we run and fight hard as hell to end up in the same damn place. You cannot tell me, African man, African woman, something that we're fighting for today that was not on the table 100 years ago. We're fighting to solve problems that we got the solution to 100 years ago. We're still fighting to have our votes counted. We've had the right to vote for 100 years. We're still fighting police brutality. And they telling this stupid lie, we got to demilitarize the police. It doesn't make any difference when we demilitarize police. Remember back in the 68 riots, the largest succession of riots we ever had in this country? There were no such thing as militarized police. There wasn't even a such thing as a SWAT team. The average officer carried a wooden billy club and a 6-shooter 38 revolver. I own a 6-shooter 38 revolver. Ain't nothing military about that pistol. It's not even a pistol. It's a revolver. They didn't have these Desert Eagles, these 16 clip, expanded clip. They didn't have these AR-15s, body armor helmets, and they were still murdering us with their literally pea shooters. They used to call them guns Saturday night specials. So long before there was any military surplus given over to the police force. Back then, they were oppressing and killing us when they had muskets. That took like 15 minutes to load one buckshot. So we come up, we're going to fight for what? The next 25, 30 years to demilitarize the police? Not that we have that long. This is all speculation because they're killing off the life-sustaining. Humanity could be extinct in a decade or two. Again, for the same thing, this death urge of Western culture. As long as we here, we might as well speculate. So we're going to fight to demilitarize the police. And then when we get the demilitarization and the federal government goes all over the country and collects the tanks, collects the high-powered rifles, collects the drones, collects the flak armor and the all-terrain videos and takes all the military equipment away from the police, we're going to be dancing in the street. Yes, a big victory. And then they'll go back to killing us with 38 revolvers and wooden billy clubs instead of the tactical rods, metal rods, the extending metal rods that they use now. Go ask your uncle. Many of us have grandparents that were around before the police were militarized, that were around before the military surplus got dumped on local police stations, before U.S. Police officers started going to Israel to learn crowd suppression and urban warfare tactics, and asked them, were the police better? It ain't, the militarized police ain't got nothing to do with it. They were oppressing us when they had short swords and broad shields back during the Roman legions. But anyway, we love that dance and they love the dance. They love it. Every time there's a black atrocity, not only do they get the thrill kill of killing us, then they turn around and they get overtime to monitor and our protest. And y'all, I've been seeing this video all over. Y'all just can't lavish enough praise on the white folks in Sacramento. Some brother went to the city council and jumped up on a desk, and the white people formed a white wall of protection. Build that white wall of protection. Now, every black person, if you can just get a half a dozen white people to huddle around you as you go about your life, racism is done. And everybody's like, this is what white allies do. You guard black people. Nah, that's not what allies are supposed to do. You're not supposed to form a protective shield around us. You have the power to stop this. You have the power to stop this. Go stop it. Look, you have black people suffering white atrocities. And then white people facilitating our protest of white atrocities. Do you find the disconnect? Stop the white atrocities. Then we don't need no. But okay, listen, y'all love to dance as much as white folks love to dance. It's something to do. Y'all invested all that money in the cardboard and the paint and we got the protest signs. But protesting white atrocities is not the same thing as ending, reversing, preventing, stopping white atrocities. But like I said, I get in trouble. I'm a revolutionary. I'm not a protester. A test ain't the real thing. I'm not a demonstrator. I ain't down for no demos. I'm not even an activist. I don't act. This is real. Demos, testing, and acting. That's rehearsal. That's practice. That's an artificial display. We need to stop with the demonstrations, the protesting, and the activism, and get to revolution. Now, once you have a revolutionary analysis, a revolutionary agenda, revolutionary organization, revolutionary cadres, once you have all that, Then activism, demonstrations, and protests do not become a way of life. They become a tool in your arsenal. They become tools in your arsenals. They become propaganda or counter propaganda. They become indoctrination or counter indoctrination. But when that is your go-to be all, that when that is your agenda as opposed to a tactic or a tool for your agenda, you're stuck. But you'll never be out of work. Right now, Al Sharpton's 115 years old. He made a whole life of protesting white atrocities because they'll never stop the atrocities. So if you are a black activist, demonstrator, or protester, you will never be out of work. White folks will make work for you. They'll keep you hopping. They'll keep you busy. Especially if you find a way to get paid to protest. Woo! Black Lives Matter. And hell, you become, black blood, black death becomes your currency. But I guess, man, I'm not going to put no salt in the game. This is a time of kumbaya. For some reason, black people are glassy-eyed behind white folks. And white folks apparently in Sacramento, I'm going to go make me a white Sacramento friend. White folks in Sacramento know how to do. Can you do it? So they are the example. They are the standard. Alrighty then. We're moving on. Lori Lightfoot, Tony Perry. We got 2 black women running for mayorship. But it don't matter which black woman gets in because both of the black women appear to intend to have white governance. So if it ain't women, pro-woman policy, if it ain't, but I'm going to tell y'all right now, I'm going to vote for Tony Preckwinkle. Lori Lightfoot is very much, obviously, the establishment candidate. And I could understand why. I mean, if I was part of the white ruling class, I would definitely vote Lori Lightfoot. But I ain't that. I don't even aspire to be that like many of y'all. I don't want equality with my oppressor. But, I mean, Lori Lightfoot has one really, really good policy proposal. But I think she's lying about it. And maybe I'll get more into that. She has one really good policy proposal. And other than that, but, she's a cop. And she's pro-cop. She supported the cop. She's defended the cop against, the outrage and the justice sinking of the black community. Unforgivable. That's what you are. I just can't let that go. Preckwinkle is a bureaucrat. Now, most of y'all, I have respect for bureaucrats. I have an appreciation of bureaucracy. I know that the corporate overlords had taught y'all, taxation is theft, which is a lie. Taxation is not theft. Even Jesus said, render unto Caesar. He knew that Caesar wasn't stealing his own coin back from his slave. You look at the money, it got pictures of slave masters on it. So when the slave master says, all right, hand it a little bit back, kick in, that's not theft. It's just not. You know what is theft? Profit is theft. But, y'all been taught to hate the government by, I guess, let me not say talk, because y'all got a lot of justifiable reasons to hate the government. But when I hear people explain why they're anti-government, they don't talk about colonization. They don't talk about imperialism. They don't talk about systemic oppression. They talk about things like taxes, fees, bureaucracy. And those are problems for the elites. Those are problems for the people who the means of production. That's Warren Buffett and the Koch brother. That's their issues. So I do think that working class and poor people have issues with the government. A lot of legitimate gripes with the government. But when all of their complaints seem to come straight out of the Heritage Foundation and the Council of Foreign Relations, I have to say, what's going on here? What's the haps? I know dude ain't never had no damn job in his life. Ain't never paid nothing. The only thing he paid taxes on was getting chili cheese hot dogs at the 7-Eleven. And that's sales tax. That's not even federal tax. That's city and state. And he talking about, oh, taxes. Taxation is theft. And he's a libertarian. I'm like, dude, you don't, what? You've never paid taxes. But it's indoctrination. But anyway, you know, the racist Chicago Sun-Times. We got two papers here, the Chicago Tribune, which I read the Chicago Tribune. I actually read the Chicago Tribune. I don't mess with the Sun-Times. It's a tabloid. I know some people, you know, there's some divisions in this city. You're either a Sox fan or a Cubs fan. I don't know. I had bought a Cubs t-shirt, and I was walking in Hyde Park. People were all in my grill about this stupid ass t-shirt. I only bought it because it was $3 and it fit me. Can't walk down the street shirtless, causing these ladies to wreck their cars, distracting these ladies from their jobs. I can't go shirtless down the street. So as a public service, I bought just some random Cubs shirt. So y'all really get committed to y'all teams. And that's how I am about the paper. When I choose a paper, that's my paper, and I don't mess with the other paper. But anyway, I'm giving the Bro Diallo show officially endorses Tony Preckwinkle for the mayor. And let me tell you really what it's really about. When you don't, because neither one of these politicians are ideal. Y'all saw I was working on the Ford campaign. I was working for a outside the gate type non-machine candidacy. And we got like 1% of the vote. But I'm proud. I don't vote for the winner. I vote for policy. I vote for platform. I don't get emotional about vote. But let me tell you one thing about Preckwinkle that's not real about Lori Lightfoot. If Preckwinkle got into office, Preckwinkle would be dependent and thus vulnerable on the black constituency. Therefore, if we organize ourselves, we could exert some pressure on Preckwinkle to advance the black community's interest in City Hall. And we'd be in a lot better. I'm not saying that Preckwinkle's walking in there and about to be Martin Luther Preckwinkle, El Haj Preckwinkle Shabazz. She ain't about to become radical. She ain't even about to become pro-black. But she's vulnerable. And that's why the white people don't want her. The white folks love her. And when I say white people, that's my blanket for like the ruling class. They definitely want Lori Lightfoot. If you look at who's endorsing who's got the endorsements, who has the favorable coverage in the corporate press, they understood that if we put Preckwinkle in office, if they get an organized lobbying block within the black community, there are certain interest groups and certain activist groups on the south side of Chicago that will have sway over Preckwinkle. Whereas Lori Lightfoot has stood up before black folks on more than one occasion, including during this race where local activists, local organizers had stood up and be like, yo, you need to account to us. And she basically gave them the political middle finger. She's like, whatever. And that alone, because there aren't many things to celebrate. We know that Preckwinkle is a competent bureaucrat. She will maintain. I think she will also be better at doing the basic functions of the city, operations of the state, and local government in terms of potholes and trains and bringing revenues and development. I do believe that because she lives on the south side, and I've been here since Preckwinkle was just a lowly alderwoman. And I see Preckwinkle around town all the time. She don't run with an entourage. She hasn't really let these positions go to her head from what I see on the surface. She's just out here and she's amongst the community. She has no bodyguards like all other politicians, even Amara Inya, who ain't never held an office, who never really was in the running. She had a full cadre of bodyguards, some brothers that know, and I know some of her bodyguards personally. Them some brothers that could throw down. They could wreck shop when they have to. These cats could throw down when they need to. And they know, and she's walking with bodyguards, and she keeps a distance between her and the people. But this is not an endorsement. I'm just saying I'm not talking about, I'm not voting for Preckwinkle. I vote in the interest of the South Side, black Chicago, black folks around the city of Chicago and the surrounding areas. And I think if Lori got in, she'd be very secure and absolutely ignoring the black masses and have no obligation. And worse, well, I don't want a politician that loves me. I want a politician that's vulnerable to my people, that's vulnerable to us, that we can hold sway over. This ain't about love. This is about power and influence. And for that reason, I'm going with Tony. Y'all do what y'all want to do. Got to do something. I don't even like making Haiti part of the build-up because Haiti is a thing unto itself. I don't want to talk about this either because I'm going to get myself kicked off the air, but I have to talk about this. Michael Jackson, R. Kelly, Bill Cosby. Eddie Griffin made a tape some time ago. And Eddie Griffin, we from the same hometown. He's a little older than me, so he came up and through the city, through the ranks before me. But he has this stupid ass interview where he's talking about the conspiracies to bring down great black men and destroy the legacy of great black men. And he talked about how this was before R. Kelly, before R. Kelly's current troubles. I should have pulled that up. But I'm sure you could find it. Y'all know better than me. But he said that there's a conspiracy to tear down to bring the black man down. Now, I don't understand that. Now, here's where y'all lose me. Let me just cut to the chase. What the hell do y'all mean by legacy? What the hell are y'all talking about? The black man's legacy. Now, what I always understood about legacy was, I can hear the traffic. Just thought I heard a car accident. Anyway, I progress. When you want to talk about a legacy, now these guys were great entertainers. They had great skill, great ability. But to me, that's not the legacy. That's their ability. Nobody can take that away from them. Michael Jordan, scum of the earth. Nobody can take their ability. But ability is not legacy. Do you understand that? Talk about trying to destroy a black man's legacy. Let me try to clarify this. R. Kelly can sing. Michael Jackson, I don't know what really Michael Jackson, how much he did, because Prince claimed Michael Jackson was not an artist, he was a performer, and said he was a great performer. But Prince said, I write, produce, arrange, orchestrate, play all my instruments, everything. Where Michael Jackson, other people write his songs unwillingly. I know there's some people that unwillingly wrote songs for Michael Jackson because he stole. Michael Jackson was a sucker MC, if you believe Quincy Jones. Michael Jackson was a sucker MC. And y'all really got off by his dances. I was impressed by his dances, but you know, he's no Gregory Hines. You know, he's no Dub C from the West Side Connection with the C walking. He can't. I never seen him do that. I mean, he's no Dub C, but he could dance. Those are their abilities. Michael Jordan could chase balls. Mike Tyson could throw punches. But your ability is not your legacy. Your legacy, and it says, if you look the word up, it's about what you leave for preceding generations. What do you give them? Now, even if they say Michael Jackson's a pedophile, and let me go on record, I've always thought Michael Jackson was a pedophile. If I was to close my eyes and somebody says, imagine a pedophile, how a pedophile looks, the type of things a pedophile would say, the type of things a pedophile would do. Build a Neverland, call yourself Peter Pan, and wear these funny outfits, grabbing at your crotch and chemically castrating yourself so your voice can reach high. It's just a lot of weird stuff. So I'm prone to believe. Yeah, and I've always been for judging books by their covers. I don't know why people say you can't judge the book by your cover. Yeah, you can and should judge a book by its cover. And let me tell you something, Mr. Book Producers. If you got a book of critical analysis, don't put, dumb feces on the cover. Why the hell don't the cover match the outside? To me, that's the thing. If you are a person of quality, then carry yourself. So yeah, I judge books by the cover. All of us do. And the people, if there's some type of disconnect between the cover and the content, then that's a problem unto itself. Even if the content is wonderful and the cover is trash. I said it. So I've always thought that. Long before the charges, back when the people started, the gossiping first went. And yeah, I know he beat his case. There's a lot of innocent men in jail, a lot of guilty men walking the earth. That don't mean nothing to me. Dr. John Henry Clark said, our Supreme Court is our kitchen table. Dr. Clark said, we can't go to the U.S. Supreme Court, District Court, Appeals Court, your local city court, traffic court. Nah, he said, black folks, we understood. We sat around our grandma's table. Our elders would sit around the table and make their decision. And that was our Supreme Court, because we couldn't depend on the system to do wrong right or do right wrong. So the kitchen table Supreme Court, the black hood, the street, the barbershop Supreme Court, that's our legislation and delegation. That's our UN, the barbershop. Whether the court said you're innocent or guilty, we know. The streets say OJ is innocent. Shoot, then he innocent. I don't care what the court say he innocent or guilty. It don't matter. That's their business. But I digress. Legacy is about what you hand down to the people. What will go on. So when I think of legacy, I think of Malcolm X. Because not only was Malcolm X brilliant, not only was Malcolm X one of the greatest organizers, not only was he an inspirational figure, that went on. And we could emulate. Even now, people say, every time somebody gets locked up, every time somebody hits bottom, they say, Malcolm X did it. And for generations, black people have been given the autobiography of a black man who had his father killed by white racists, who had his mother driven insane and put into asylum, whose siblings and himself passed around to foster care, who was broken down by the system, who had a reactionary response to the oppressive system, and then came out to be one of the greatest intellects and organizers and revolutionaries. That's Malcolm X's legacy. Malcolm X had a lot of abilities to read, to analyze, but if Malcolm X said, I'm going to go work for corporate America after I get out of prison, or even if Malcolm stayed in the Nation of Islam and didn't take a principled stand even within that cult, and I got something to play for you. I'm going to play it in just a second. Even if all that never happened, then there wouldn't be, and I'm in awe and I respect his ability, but his legacy is something else. But if you take your ability to play ball, to sing, to dance, to box, or to do comedy, Cosby had a great comedic ability. Even now, I got the vinyl record himself, Bill Cosby himself. I bought it at a used record store. I've never had, so for as long as I knew of Cosby. I remember what George Jackson said about Cosby in I Spy. I always knew Cosby was a sellout. But I don't deny his ability. You'll never find, I can hate somebody's guts, but I don't deny their ability. What is Cosby's legacy? Cosby's legacy is not, apart from his ability, what did he do with his ability? At one time, he was the most famous, most recognizable black man on the face of the earth. The first black man in history to get a primetime syndicated show. And I ain't even talking about Cosby. I'm talking about I Spy. And what did he do with that platform? Did he uplift black people? Did he provide resistance to our oppressors and support for the just aspirations of black people? No. That's his legacy, a race traitor. Michael Jackson. What is Jackson's legacy? Yeah, I look online. He went to Ukraine. He went to orphanages and he loved babies. Did he struggle for black? Yeah, he got on in front of Oprah talking about, I am a proud African American man. But in that same interview, he said he only had one nose job. So you tell me, he's not an honest man. Now, he ain't as bad as Cosby. He didn't go tearing black people down and validating the system of oppression through his words, but he did through his actions. So it kind of upsets me that black people think any black man or woman that has a talent or ability, exceptional talent or exceptional ability, and can amass fiat currency, all of a sudden that's a legacy that the rest of us should rally behind. That's a legacy we should respect. That's not a legacy in the context of a people. Simply having a great ability and skill, how did you utilize it? Look at Colin Powell. Great soldier. Even more so, a great soldier, a great commander of men. And how did he use it to advance the U.S. empire? So it really annoys the hell out of me that black people run around talking about Michael Jackson's legacy and trying to destroy the black man's legacy. I think we need to reassess what we mean by legacy and what a legacy is. And you ain't got to worry about these wealthy scumbags, because nobody can deny their ability. You know, and it is really stupid. Like, Michael Jackson had the top selling album of all time, and then his album got knocked off by like Post Malone, some white dude knocked in terms of album sales, some record Michael Jackson held that people said would never be broken. And then some white artist came and broke it. And then Chuck D went to social media and was like, everybody run out and buy Michael Jackson albums. And I'm like, really? Y'all really gonna get out here and Uncle Remus for what? Blanket Jackson, Paris Jackson, and I don't even know the other lopsided boy's name. Those three white kids, y'all really gonna bang for them because that's where the money's going? Did he set up a trust for anything black? The only time Michael Jackson was black is when he got in trouble. All that money he gave to the Jehovah's Witnesses. And then when he got in trouble, I didn't see the Jehovah's Witnesses going to court with him. I didn't see the little Ukrainian kids whom he was sending money to and visiting Ukrainian orphanages. And you remember, we are the world, we are the children. Remember that? Not a dime reached the starving people in Ethiopia. Not a dime of it. They stole that money. Michael Jackson knew it, never told it, and pocketed that money. You want to talk about legacy? But he made sure the Ukrainian kids and the Bosnian little orphanages, little white kids, got what they want, which was his right. But now black people out here trying to put money in Paris Jackson, and Paris Jackson goes off and dates some white boy with a Confederate flag tattoo who's on social media talking about nigga this, nigga that. Y'all want to make sure they stay paid because that's where the money's going. I think we got a warped sense of legacy. And the biggest thing about this is, what the hell is the incentive? Do we give our great talented people to fight for us, to stand with us, to struggle on our behalf and struggle and alliance with us, to resist our enemies, to fight the status quo? What incentive do we give them when we show we don't care? If you're talented and you make a lot of money, we don't care anything else, we're going to fight for you. Oh, I could just sell you out. Why would I put anything on the line? Why would I Kaepernick for y'all? I won't even do no basic little Kaepernick, because no matter what, y'all gonna come out crying about my legacy. When my legacy is really one of betrayal. When my legacy is really one of compromise with the enemy. When my legacy is really one of representing my class interest over my racial interest. Why would they fight for us? We don't understand the power in shunning someone. But y'all know, you do know how to shun. You do know how to shun. I know people don't talk to their own blood siblings over a pair of socks. I let my older brother borrow my car one time. And he brought it back smelling like weed. I told you, don't be smoking weed in my car. I don't like that smell. It's hard to get out. Don't come. Bring my car back, smell like weed in my car. I ain't trying to stand. I got 2 older brothers. I won't say which one. I don't want a Takashi one. I don't want to be out. But this is years. This is over 10 years. More than 10. Almost over 20 years ago, because it's before I even met my wife. But I didn't talk to him for like 2 months. I was so angry that I was like, you don't disrespect me. How you just going to retrospect me like that? I didn't talk to my brother for 2 months. I was so angry. It wasn't even the weed. It was just the utter, just like blatant, in-your-face disrespect that I was trying to do you a solid. So we know about shunning in the black community. We know how to cut people off. We just don't like to cut off because we think we live vicariously through these celebrities. They give us hope. Allow us to keep our eyes on the prize. If we work hard enough, we can get up there. Let me tell you something. Long before Leaving Neverland, long before Surviving R. Kelly, long before the multitude of rape allegations, these men had already cemented their legacy for the black community. Maybe, if anything, it can hurt them with their white fans, but the black community should have already been. You came out of the black community, you are a product of black culture, and you got rich promoting and selling our culture and our community to the world, and you did not kick back in. You didn't pay your social, your cultural, your racial, your historical debt to the black community. You didn't honor our ancestors, and you didn't pave a way for our descendants. Therefore, your legacy is done. To hell with what the white man's courts say or don't say. Whether the white man courts find you innocent or guilty. We need to understand this. We are government in exile. And we need to start acting like it. Black solidarity is our most valuable asset, and we need to start acting like it. Stop giving your solidarity away for free. Any black adult that comes under any type of attack or assault from the system, we better already know, have you represented yourself? Have you carried yourself properly by our standards? To hell with the white man's laws. By the black community standards, by the black Pan-African standards, have you carried yourself? But that's big talk, right? But I progress. Let me share this with you before we get into the topic of the day. Y'all need to hear this. How I do this. Bear with me just now.
So it behooves a man to walk the field. Now wait, let me explain myself. It behooves a man. The field here is a woman's mind. You cultivate her ability, natural ability to love. You don't plant no seed before you do that. That's why the worst thing you can do is try to find your way to the secret parts of the woman before you find a way to cultivate her natural love for you.
Okay.
That's why sex is not first, it is last. It is the culmination of a love. Develop it, and it's not a base expression, it is the highest expression of two people who genuinely love one another.
That ain't the part. Keep listening.
So
part 2.
This is part of your innocence. When you are a little girl, you watch fathers. This is why some fathers fall in love with their little daughters. Yeah. And this is why fathers tamper with their daughters.
Fathers tamper
I didn't
with their
understand it before, but I began to study it.
By tamper, he means molest.
See, the woman who is the mother,
this is why fathers molest their daughters. Listen to this.
Grow away from them. You don't want to do for them. But your little daughters, they love their daddies if they're there. And they end up wanting to do for daddy. You too tired. You've been working hard. Honey, I'm hungry. Well, get some yourself. Hell you want me to do? I work too. The daughter said, Daddy, what you want? This is part of your innocence. When you are a little girl.
All right, let's go to part 3.
That's right, you fix it for him. But the daughter now is serving your husband. And the daughter looked like you used to look before you got tired of caring for yourself and got sloppy and fat and out of shape and ugly acting. And he said, damn. Son, you think we should go home? Sisters and brothers, I don't mean no harm.
I'm gonna stop that right there. This is a tape I came across from a sermon given by Minister Louis Farrakhan called "The Secret Part of a Woman." I couldn't find the date this was given, but this was a few years ago. But essentially, in this tape. Now, I wanted to play this because if you go back to the Bro Diallo archives, you notice I did a story on rape culture and talked about rape cultures, the sources, and resisting rape culture. And I wanted to play this then, but I had to find it. I finally found it after I did the show. But then I couldn't find the date and all the other stuff associated. But I have the video. Now, in this video, Minister Louis Farrakhan, the Nation of Islam, is stating that one of the men, he said, fathers tamper with their daughters. And the reason he said tamper with means molest, have sex, start intimate sexual relationships, molest their daughters, is because the mothers are unpleasant, the mothers are unwilling to serve the fathers, and that the mothers become unattractive as they age. Whereas the daughter not only is willing to serve the father, admires her father, worships her father, she also looks like the mother used to look when the father was first attracted to her. And, you know, daughters often look like their mothers in their prime. So the source of molestation, the motivations for molestation, the motivations of fathers raping daughters is mothers not staying in shape, not being pleasant enough, not worshiping their man enough, not being willing to cook a meal for the man or be the man's servant after the woman has worked as many hours or as hard as the man has worked. Not only did he say this, he said it on videotape. And I didn't really know when is a good time to play this nonsense. But, you know, I wanted to play that as an extension. But I was like, let me just put it out there. Y'all do what y'all want to with it. I've been through with the Nation of Farrakhan for I don't know how long. I ain't with cults. I'm not with religious organizations or religious organizations spilling over into the political arena. I don't believe and I don't accept religious leadership. I think we need secular leadership. And y'all get mad at Farrakhan, but we need to start having institutional outrage. All these movements, the feminist movement, the gay rights movement, the black liberation struggle, we get mad at individual racists when the holy books and the very institutions that produce the racist, that produce the sexist, that produce the pedophile, that give validation and support to them, we ignore the institutions. Many of us support the institutions. You're a woman, I fight sexism. I hate predators. And then you go sit in the Christian church, you go sit in the mosque, you go to the temple, you go to the synagogue. When them holy books and those gods advocate for child rape and advocate for oppression of women, advocate for higher racial hierarchies, God's chosen people. So if you want to resist these things, you got to have institutional resistance. But it's real easy to say, I don't support racism, but I'm a Muslim. This is a racist religion. Oh, how dare you say it? How dare they do it? I couldn't say it if they didn't do it. There's African people on an Islamic auction block right now being sold into chattel slavery. But I digress. I progress. Like I said, I hate to dig this disgusting nonsense up. But I wanted to play it for my other show. I was going to do another rape culture, but I figured let me just get, because I don't even like listening to it. But The Secret Part of a Woman by Minister Louis Farrakhan. I wish I had a date on it. But when I say these things, a lot of times I say stuff and y'all just think I'm behind this microphone being completely outlandish. You just hate religion. Yeah, I do. I admit I hate religion. That's not an accusation. You're not really doing any great expose of Bro Diallo when you say Bro Diallo hates religion. But this kind of stuff is why. And not only because it produces leaders, ministers that have this mentality, but because of the masses of people that follow them. If these ministers were in some dark corner of the world spewing nonsense, or if they go like they're say to go to some cave or some hidden area talking this fevered nonsense, I wouldn't care. But the fact that they got millions of followers all over the world, that's my problem. I focus on the people, not the individual, the collective. But I guess it's an appropriate segue in today's ultimate topic, our basic topic of the day, which is oppression, projection, and the siege mentality. And the reason I want to talk about oppression, projection, and the siege mentality is, as the reparations movement takes flight, now that we have not really contenders, the top three candidates in the presidential race right now are Joe Biden. Believe it or not, Joe Biden has not even announced that he's running. But in the Iowa caucus, which really sets the tone for the nation, it's Joe Biden, number one, Bernie Sanders, number two, and Elizabeth Warren, number three. And all three of them have said no to reparations. But then you have some fringe candidates, some upstart candidates that have given lip service to the reparations struggle. And I think Wednesday we're going to talk about reparations in particular, because I don't think black folks understand what reparations is. Reparations has been reduced to a monetary payout, and that is not what reparations are. That's only one element of reparations. But we'll save that. But as you got Native Americans standing up, you got women standing up, you got gay folks standing up, you got black folks, you got all these formerly marginalized groups saying, hey, enough is enough. And they're making progress. Everything from gay marriage to we got women who are generals of the Marine Corps, a black woman who's a general of the Marine Corps. We got 2 black women duking it out to be mayors of the 3rd largest city in America. So all this progress, you're making all this progress, but when you look at these minute people, you know, we got Muslim congressmen, we got openly gay congressmen and women, lesbian legislators, we got black folks everywhere. I mean, black people, we just infested every element of this government. The black CEOs, black businesses, and all this wonderful black big-time movie makers, black people walking away with Oscars and Grammys and Tonys and all this progress when you look at the individual accomplishments. But then when you zoom out, when you get a larger perspective, when you start looking at the statistics, the FBI or the CDC or any of these other data gathering research bodies and institutions, you find that black people, gay people, women collectively haven't moved an inch. How do you have all this progress on top of stagnation? How does it happen? It's from a homie I had. He was an engineer. Shout out Jamal, wherever you are, Jersey. And he used to always talk about the illusion of inclusion. And there's another element of that. Now, a lot of that is causing black people to become more status quo oriented, more achievement oriented, more to think that if we could just get a larger share of the spoils of empire, we'd be all right, because we got all these rights on paper, all these black faces in high places. And then white people. It's another side of this. You got all these white folks who feel like they're getting the short end of the stick. You got these people out here screaming white genocide. You have heterosexual people out here talking about straight pride. We got capitalists and the ruling class talking about punishing success. And this is the backlash from the uprising. So now every group, not just the traditionally oppressed and discriminated groups, racial, ethnic, gender, sexual, religious minorities, but now people from the majority group are crying. Now everybody's oppressed. White men are there's rhetoric going around on 4chan and the other white circles where they say the only group that you can legally discriminate against in America is white males, straight white males. And now you even have a movement against whiteface. And white people went and got Snoop Doggy Dogg, had adopted a white persona and put on a blonde wig and powdered his face and did whiteface. And they went and got this old Eddie Murphy, that was hysterical, this old Eddie Murphy skit. Talking about Eddie Murphy did whiteface. And so now every damn body's oppressed. From the wealthy capitalists to the homeless people, to the lesbian, gay, trans, asexual, intersex, to the straight pride people, straight heterosexuality, manhood is under attack. It's a mad, mad world, and everybody's scrambling. Now Native Americans want reparations. And now the Japanese people, the descendants of the Japanese people that went to internment camps say that they were awarded reparations, but the payouts were never made. You got former African colonies saying they need their reparations for the exploitation of NATO and the former colonial countries of black people in the Caribbean, talking about all the interventions, and everybody want reparations. And now instead of going after the people who violated us, now we banging each other, jockeying for a position, trying to get to the front of the line of the payout from the massa. Woo! What the hell is going on? And how do you sort this all out? Because for every black person that stands up and says, I'm a victim of racism, I was denied an opportunity, you'll find a white person that gets up and talk about their plight and how affirmative action has harmed them. And to quote Kanye, the genius, to quote Black Disney, to quote Kanye, the white man gets paid off of all of that. What is it? Why is this so confusing? So let me tell you what's going on. There are people that are oppressed. And there is a difference between oppression and exploitation. Oppression is when a culture, a race, a nation, an ethnicity from outside you comes and imposes their power, their will, their interest on you or over you. And the reason why there is such a distinction, and exploitation is when people from within your culture, from within your community, from within your race, from within your nation, take advantage of you. And the key distinction between oppression and exploitation is, in order to end oppression, you have to end the system. You can't reform your way out of oppression. Whereas if you are exploited, let's say you're an Irishman, and you're an Irish Catholic, and you got beef with the Irish Protestants. Because essentially y'all have the same fundamental culture, same fundamental mentality, same fundamental ideas, you can literally reform. You can convert. You could convert to become an Irish Catholics, or you could write in reforms and lead the fundamental structures and apparatus of the state, that the power structure and the status quo can remain intact, and you can accommodate yourself to it or accommodate it to you while not tearing it down. Oppression, because it is an alien form of exploitation, an outside coming inside, where it is an alien culture, an alien race, an alien value system, an alien mentality, you must blow the whole thing up. You cannot integrate into it. You cannot reform it. That's why black people, we can end exploitation and we're still oppressed. We can end legal segregation. We can integrate the schools. We can end redlining. We can end fraud and banking discrimination. We can rewrite every law on the damn books. We got 3 constitutional amendments, 13, 14, and 15 amendments that were directly and oriented, strictly written for black people, former slaves. And yet, here we are, hundreds of years later, still fighting for the same thing, because we didn't end oppression. And the only way to end oppression, and I think our oppressors understand this, to end black oppression means to end America. Not necessarily the territory of America. That's not going anywhere. But the Constitution ain't nothing but a piece of paper. America will stop being America the moment they stop oppressing black people. Now, you saw America. They went, you go look and study the history of Ellis Island. They brought in Irish Catholics. They brought in Italian Catholics. Now, this is a Protestant nation. Now, we don't study white ethnicities. We don't study white conflicts. We like to believe white people are unified and they're hardworking and they're godly, and that's the key to their success. And if we got to become hardworking, we got to have all black unity. We have all these illusions of what constitutes power. But all these white people came here. The Irish, the Italians, any Catholic, the Turks. Remember the sick man of Europe? Turkey's in Europe. The Turks, the Greeks, all the so-called Southern Europeans came here. And in under a generation, they went from being some weird, untrusted, oppressed, excluded ethnic group to being just plain old white folks. Just plain old white folks. They got integrated. And there used to be specific and key, and even white people step up. My ancestors, they discriminated. We weren't allowed to go to certain. There were certain schools, certain golf courses, certain jobs, certain industries, certain unions that certain white folks couldn't get into. And then after that, after the fall of the Soviet Union, all the Soviet bloc nations, Ukraine, Yugoslavia, Polish, all of them came to America in the 90s. And now their children and grandchildren, just straight plain old run-of-the-mill white folks. Remember Donald Trump? Trump ain't been in this guy. Trump's grandfather was under threat of being deported. Trump's grandfather was an illegal alien. Look it up. Trump and my family been in this country 10 times longer than Donald Trump. In less than 2 full generations, Trump went from being an alien foreigner to an all-out American. That's what happens when you're an exploited group by your own people. So, we are oppressed. White people are exploited. White people are exploited by their political parties. They're exploited by multinational corporations. White people are exploited by their own elite. White people are exploited by, if they are a minority. Remember the Mormons? They used to kill Mormons in the street. White folks used to lynch Mormons. That's why they left the East Coast and they came to Missouri and set up shop. Then they got ran out of Missouri and they ran to Utah. And now we had Mormon is just, white folks now. They because they were an exploited group, a religious minority. Black people, we don't have that option. Now, we try to do it. And we got leaders come to us like Bill Cosby that come to us and disrespectfully and ignorantly say, why can't we just do the Irish came here? And some Irish will come here. My people came here with nothing. My people came here with nothing and we made it. My people came here and struggled and worked like hell. And what's your problem? Same thing with Latin Americans. That's another thing. The white Latinos come here, they don't have much trouble. They come here, they learn the language. Within a generation or two, they lose the accent, and all of a sudden, they're wearing Skechers and Crocs and eating bland chicken. They're all out white. Black people, we don't have that option. We are oppressed. They are exploited. We need to understand the difference between oppression and exploitation. We have been oppressed. And it's just like you would think. Black people, after being oppressed for generation after generations, for century after century, we would have some functional understanding of oppression, even if you don't want to fight oppression, even if you seek to submit to oppression. You would think that black folks would have a functional definition of it, no matter how we intend to respond to it. But we don't. You ask 100 black people, what's your status? I ain't oppressed. That's a mind state. That's a victim mentality, a slave mentality. I'm not oppressed. You would think, if nothing else, the first thing a black child should learn after doing the dab, after they learn the hottest dance, the first thing a black child should learn is oppression. What is oppression, what it is, and what it ain't. We do ourselves a disservice. And now we got white folks. We got gay white men. Oh, I'm oppressed, gay, and discrimination because I'm gay. We got white disabled people. Well, I'm oppressed. No. And in definitions, the words have meanings, and meanings have impact on the material world. So we have to understand oppression. Because we don't even have an understanding. So how the hell we going to fight it? How the hell we going to cure it? How the hell we going to reverse it? How the hell we going to end it when we don't even know what the hell it is? And then we figure we don't know who we ally with. We don't know who we supposed to fight against. They got black people fighting Jamaicans over reparations. Black people getting mad because Nigerians come here and get a leg up and get a hustle on. We don't understand oppression. We think we can ally. We're Americans and we can lock arms with our fellow Americans and help our fellow Americans fight against Africa. Fight against the Caribbean, fight against Central and Latin America, fight against the Middle East. Because we don't understand oppression. And then this issue of projection. They all tie together. Projection is when you impose your thoughts, wills, intentions, activities on another person or another people. And we understand how white people project on the black race. We understand how white people are like, oh, blacks are criminals when they commit the most crimes. Blacks are lazy when they're the ones that stole a whole race of people to do labor for them and stole other people's lands and steal other people's everything, white collar crime. When they set up an economy where a man could be sitting on a beach in the French Riviera and have a factory in Taiwan and have a retail outlet and absentee landlordship. They invented all that stuff on how to make money sitting on your ass when 80% of all the wealth in their economy is inherited wealth, not earned income. But they call us lazy. Black people are criminal. Black people are lazy. Black people are violent. When they had the military capacity to extinguish all life on earth, we don't. Not one African nation, not one African individual. So we understand what it means when white people project on us. But we project on white people too. We psychologically project on white people too. We put our own sentiments and mentalities. We impose our motivations. We like to think that they are like us and we are like them. And that's why we come up with these stupid ideas about, oh, we can't focus on them, let's focus on us. Because we really think white people are sitting somewhere focusing on white people. We really think they're somewhere saying, what can we do to better ourselves, to better our communities, to pave a way for our offspring? And they don't think about how do we subvert, how do we disrupt, how do we exploit black people? We really think they're somewhere not thinking about us and we shouldn't think of them. That's projection. We really think their motivations are I just want to live a good life. We project that on them. Well, they just want money so they can buy nice things and enjoy the have things and live it, ball out. But when I step back and they are destroying the life-sustaining capacity of the earth. I just found an ancient newspaper clipping from 1912. Shows that scientists and industrialists from 1912 understood the effect of greenhouse gas emissions, burning of carbon fuels, impact on the ecosystem and the environment. They knew about global warming over 100 years ago. I'm going to post that. Go check Bro Diallo on Instagram. So a projection goes both ways. It goes both ways. And we have to understand what oppression is. We have to understand psychological projection. And these are fundamental concepts that if you don't understand them and you start to organize, you start to build, you start to try to conceptualize solutions and then act on that conceptions and make those conceptions a reality, you're going to be running into brick wall, and your great-great-grandchildren are going to be fighting for the same issues, fighting against the same problems that you are now. Nothing gets cured. With all type of new technology, with all these new abilities, with all this education, all this opportunity to transverse the world and interact with people all across the world, and we still got the same damn problems we had when we were locked in ignorance and superstition. Because there's certain basic concept that we won't grasp. So not only do we have to understand, which I think we're doing better with, understanding the psychological progression of the oppressor onto the oppressed, but we got to stop putting our humanity on them. We got to stop thinking that they have the same fundamental mindset, mentality, goals, and drives as we do. We really think, oh yeah, we got to compete. We really think if we open our businesses, we're responsible with our money. We start to develop family values, two-parent nuclear family households. We start to value education, and we start to do this. We'll demonstrate to them that we're equal partners, that we're worthy of not just to be full citizens, but we're worthy of life itself. Once we demonstrate to the police that we're not a criminal people, that we're a law-abiding community, they won't come here and slaughter us. None of that matters. They know it better than we do. They got the stats. They know who the real criminals are. They know how loyal, how tragically loyal black people are to the American dream and to the American nation. They know it already. They don't give a damn. Stop projecting. And then we deal with the siege mentality. That is what it culminates to. When you have oppression and exploitation, when you have this pathological projection going back between oppressor, conflicting group, then it comes to this thing called the siege mentality, where everyone thinks they're under attack. And when you think you're under perpetual attack, you start to develop paranoia, distrust, dysfunction. You can't really build a stable, functional society. You can't build towards anything sustainable or functional when you're under a siege mentality. But under the siege mentality, they tend to suggest that people are imagining they're being attacked. They're imagining. It's your imagination. And for white men, for certain areas of the population, it is purely their imagination. White men feel or have a very strong siege mentality. But their siege mentality is based on the fact that the things that they stole from other people, and the unfair, the unjust, the artificial advantages that they had over other people is being eroded. It's not even being eroded because they got up most of the money, all of the positions of power, control all of the institutions, they have all of that. It's not even that the white man's position is being eroded, it's being acknowledged. That's the problem. More and more people are understanding that it's not hard work, family values, and sacrifice and frugality is what brings them power. So they're not even losing their power. They're just having the sources of their power properly identified, and they are developing a siege mentality. But black people, we also have a siege mentality. Or no, more so. Let me be more accurate. Like I said, I would say the word. Black people, we have a bunker mentality, where we know that we're being attacked from all sides. And then there are also these internal threats, and many of the internal threats are a byproduct of the external projections and oppression. So we really don't want to, what we want is just to be okay where we stand. We want the status quo. And we think, okay, what can we do? What can we do to be sustained within the status quo? We want money. We need money. We need our rights. We perhaps need some black people in positions of authority within the system, some black CEOs, some black representation in Hollywood, and some black politicians to help sustain us. That's the bunker mentality. And because of being under perpetual attack and being so unstable for so long, all of this imposed, created artificial instability, artificial scarcity, deliberately created by the state and private sector. So what we begin to do is we don't have real ambition. We lose what I call the African imagination, where we don't step back and conceptualize what should a state look like? How should we draw the borders? Not just of Africa, but of the world. How should international relations be conducted? How should natural resources be managed, extracted, exploited, sustained? How should the world be governed? How should the world economy be established and conducted? We don't do any of that. We just look at what is and try to get with what is. This is what it is. I just had a brother tell me. We live in a capitalist society and that's it. Don't question it. Don't resist it. Don't critique it. Don't even try to reform it. Just get in where you fit in. Just accept, take the white man's rule book, read, study, internalize that rule book, and then exercise the rule book. Do what you're told. And then I said, imagine if Harriet Tubman had that same, well, we live in a slave plantation society. Find what the rules are and master and do your best at the rules and get as far as you're allowed to go within the rules. So that's the bunker mentality. And then the white people are like, damn, the Native Americans want the land I stole from them. The Africans want the wealth I stole from them. Women want the humanity, the power I stole from them. And so the elites, the establishment, the ruling class, the master race, they have what you call a siege mentality. Everybody's attacking me. All I did was rape and colonize the world. Big deal. Well, I didn't do it. I never had a slave. Yes, my wealth is based on the slavery, but I never had a slave, even though we do still have slaves. But you've been rebirthed. The average white person has been relieved of the burden of having to administer slaves. Black people went from being the individual property of white individuals to being the collective property of white institutions. So the government owns us and manages us on behalf of white people instead of white people having to get their own individual slave. And it has worked out better. It's been more profitable for them to have wage slaves and state slaves, state ownership of black people as opposed to individual person-to-person ownership. But if you live in the United States, it's more likely than not that your clothing were manufactured by slaves. Your cell phone and all of the elements within your cell phone, the coltan, the gold, the silicate, all the elements of your phone were and your computer and your flat screen TV and your Xbox was manufactured and mined by slaves. Your automobile parts, the fuel for your automobile was extracted from lands of enslaved people. I never owned a slave because you reworked the slave system to give you plausible deniability, to give you what I call a sterilizing distance. When the things that you profit from, you are physically far enough away from it that you can absolve any responsibility for it. The sweatshops, the child mines, the mercenaries over there killing for you to maintain the U.S. empire, to maintain the dollar hegemony, to make sure the U.S. currency is the reserve currency of the world, which is the only reason that the U.S. is as wealthy as it is, through gangsterism. So white people project their crimes on others. White people have this delusion that they're oppressed. So white people develop this siege mentality. The United States is currently in over 100 different countries. Is openly waging open war. Is waging open war in at least 7 nations. And there's over 50 to 75 nations that the United States is waging proxy or covert wars. But they're worried about Honduran refugees at the southern border. White people feel like people are invading America. No one is invading America. The United States is not under an invasion. United States is not under threat of takeover. Nobody, the only thing people want from America is for America to leave them the hell alone. The United States, not even all of America. They just want to be left the hell alone. They just want the United States to come play market prices for the resources they take from the country. So you can know all the stats, the economic stats, the crime stats, the housing stats, the police brutality stats. You can be up on all the hashtags. But there are some fundamental psychological frameworks, some fundamental social relations that I think I don't hear people talking enough about, the nature of oppression. and how oppression evolves, expands, contracts. I don't hear people speaking enough and how strong psychological projection impacts or warps our sense of self and warps our understanding of the world around us. And as people go into these siege mentalities and bunker mentalities, how do we, at least we can't control what they do, how do we as black people move beyond the hunker down? Being so damn insecure, being so damn short-sighted, being so damn reactionary. When can we start to be bold again? Can you imagine if the abolitionists, if Denmark Vesey, Nat Turner, Frederick Douglass, Sojourner Truth, Harriet Tubman, can you imagine if these people were like modern day activists? They wanted reform. They didn't say we must reform. We need to limit the number of lashes. We need to limit the work day and work hours. We want to increase the chitlin rations. They didn't reform the slave system. They said we must abolish the system of chattel slavery. That's how bold we need to be today. We have to abolish capitalism. Abolish the U.S. empire and U.S. militarism. We have to abolish the fossil fuel industry. We have to abolish the for-profit model. We have to make bold steps. We don't compromise with systems of oppression or oppressive institutions or oppressive practices. We don't play with it. We abolish. This is the Bro Diallo Show. Q4 Radio, AM 1680. I should have said this earlier. You can listen to Q4 Radio at the website from anywhere in the world at any time, 24 hours a day, but especially Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. At the Q4 website, you can also download the TuneIn app or iTunes Radio and simply put in QUE, the number 4, and you can listen also at any time, any place, anywhere, in your car, in your home, in your private helicopter, to your private helipad, at your corporate headquarters, on a yacht, sipping pina colada with Diddy, or in the jail cell sitting next to R. Kelly. You can listen anywhere. If you are in the Chicago area and the surrounding suburbs, you can also listen on your old school radio, old school, where Mark Zuckerberg and the rest of them can't get that on AM 1680 radio frequency. You can also find all shows archived at diallokenyatta.com. You can download it for later listening, download it, burn it onto a CD, so we ain't also dependent on this damn internet to keep, especially our black archivists out there. You can also go to Patreon and you can get access to the show. You become a Patreon supporter. Not only do you get access to all the shows dating back to my debut broadcast, 100% access to all Bro Diallo shows to download and share. You can also get other appreciation items that I give to people to show my appreciation for your contribution to help keep the Bro Diallo Show on the air, to help keep Pan-African revolutionary analysis and insights on the air. I think tomorrow, Wednesday, we're going to talk about reparations. But I thank my Patreon supporters. I know I fell off. I needed a piece of equipment in order to make the appreciation gifts, to make the archives. I'm sending out a compilation of speeches given by Kwame Nkrumah called Africa Must Unite. I've got a very rare interview with the archivist in Chicago, Mansong Kabali. Shout out to Mansong. And with interviewing Dr. Bobby E. Wright. I sent out a lecture I gave at Professor William Mackey's study group called Oppression. I'm caught up on, it's titled Liberation Tangible and Obtainable. And some other lectures, a lot of beautiful pins for you to wear on your jacket, your sweater, your t-shirt, to show your solidarity with progressive struggles. So, you can go to my Instagram, Facebook, all of that. I'm still suspended from my main Facebook page, so I'm on my alternate Facebook page for my hateful things that you've heard today that I write about. I guess my writings are more hateful than my words because I haven't been kicked off the air yet, but I'm always getting suspended from my blog. But anyway, I digress. It's daylight savings time, y'all. So I love this song by Dillinger. Daylight savings time. So I want to play that as we go. I'll see y'all Wednesday morning. Please make a contribution, one-time donation, an ongoing Patreon. Go to the YouTube page and subscribe to my YouTube. And that's all that. Those are my appeals. Every week, every day, I do live. I got to do these appeals. But if y'all get it on and popping, I don't have to do these appeals, and we can just, stick to the topics at hand. But anyway, Daylight Savings Time by Dillinger, one of my favorite roots reggae songs, because it is every time we have Daylight Savings Time. But I don't know if this is considered daylight savings or is that just in the fall. I don't know. But I like this song. Whenever we have to change the clocks, when the Almighty Whitey determines that it's time for us to change the clocks, we change the clocks, I will play this song. Here we go.
Of the Rasta, Easter standard time. Me think of daylight
Savings time.
you say a daylight saving time. I look at the face. What time is Tamper? 1 o'clock.